It's time for local talk here on Nextdoor Radio, nextdoorradio.com, and the Nextdoor Radio app. And welcome to Local Talk, our special edition of Decision 2022 here on Nextdoor Radio, nextdoorradio.com, and the Nextdoor Radio app, our weekly discussion with Vance Johnson. He is candidate for Granville County Sheriff. My friend, how are you tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. How about you, Trey?
You know, living the dream, as we like to say it. Living the dream again with this weather about to kick off. Hopefully, it's going to be not as bad as the smart people on TV mentioned, but hopefully it kind of sticks away. And of course, our thoughts and prayers go out to Florida, which landed today, landed today for Category 4. So our thoughts and prayers go out to them. But first, let's kind of let's start like we always do every single week. Talk about the introduction to Mr. Vance Johnson.
Sure. Just a second on that storm though. Don't underestimate 3 or 4 inches of rain. You know, so really pay attention to what's going on. And a little bit of wind, a lot of rain knocked down trees. So be cautious this weekend and pay attention. Vance Johnson. I've got 30 years of law enforcement experience. I've been a police chief, 2 different agencies. I'm assistant police chief now in Henderson, and I've done just about every law enforcement job you can dream of: K-9 officer, drug officer, interdiction officer, general investigations, across the board. I've supervised those things as well and was commanders of different units. Married, 33 years, 2 grown daughters, 3 grandchildren. Had the grandbaby last night, which was, the youngest one, grandson.
So no sleep. Zero sleep last night.
It wasn't so bad, I sleep through about anything, so... no, it wasn't. It was great. It was good to have him. So that's a little bit about me, and a U.S. Army veteran, Desert Storm. So
again, and what would I say? A family man, good Christian man, little for the community. So we appreciate that as well. But so this is our weekly discussion with candidate for Granville County Sheriff, Vance Johnson. We mentioned talk a little bit off air where this is really the historic season, historic year for the elections, and of course for the Granville County Sheriff's Office. Talk a little bit more about that if you can.
Yeah, I think that I was just talking to somebody today about how this is so different for Granville County politics. As a Republican or a conservative, you should be excited because you haven't had the opportunity to vote for a sheriff probably ever. There hasn't been a Republican candidate. We had a Republican primary, which has now led into the general election. So, it should be an exciting time for conservatives, and not just conservative Republicans. There's a lot of conservative Democrats out there that it should be a time that it's different. It's never happened. It's just, I thought a lot about that today, or how, it's so different that people are not used to it here. Most of your sheriffs have been selected in the primary, and it was a Democratic primary. And most people in their lifetimes know no different.
Wow.
So the election would be over with now, and now we're going into a general election. So, it's an exciting time. It's a new time. It's different. And I know the citizens probably just not used to it, so it's an adjustment.
Absolutely. I mean, you talked a little bit. We have 3 weeks before early voting kicks off.
Yeah. October the 20th. So it's not far, right? Yeah. Just a few days over 3 weeks, and so it's here. Yeah. It's upon us. And that's it's exciting. I'm sure for all the candidates. It should be for the citizens. It's time to kind of start doing a little homework, and figure out where you fall and who you want to support. And now's the time is to go back and watch all the interviews, and because they're all there, and make your decision because it's here.
Yeah. I mean, if you're tuning in for the very first time, you can go to our website at nextdoorradio.com, go into the program and recordings tab under the website, and you'll be able to listen back to every Decision 2022 audio, video that we've ever done a part of Nextdoor Radio. So talking about the upcoming elections a little bit, there was a report from the SBI about former candidate Chris Smoot. Talk a little bit more about that in your own words, and when that came out. Of course, there was a discussion before that, but Talk a little bit more about that in your own words, if you can.
Yeah, it's a little. It was actually kind of shocking to me. I read it in the newspaper, and I was like, wow, what this is crazy. I think that it's important for people to realize, number one, it's not appropriate for me or anyone that supports me to really comment on an ongoing investigation. And obviously that's what it is at this point. I can't say what I think or because it's just not appropriate. I don't know. I haven't spoken to Sheriff Hardy. I haven't spoken to the county attorney. I haven't spoken to the district attorney. So what I know is what the citizens know. This has been about, running a campaign. And like I've said before in several interviews and will say again, when I'm out in the community, I don't talk about the other candidate's character. What this investigation means and how it turns out. We have no influence over any of that. It's an outside entity, and but I do not go out and talk about character. I think I'm the best person for the job because it's the right experience. I'm the right choice, and every show we talk about experience. It's not about trying to make someone look bad. And we talk about social media. Social media is horrible for that. And, I encourage people to ask questions, but don't attack candidates. None of us. It's just not, on Facebook, it's just not the appropriate way of handling it. I'm in the public all the time. If you want to come up and ask me a challenging question, please do so. I encourage you to, and I'll answer you publicly so people know where I stand.
Yeah, man, if you want to comment on these videos, call me, 919-618-9258 here at Nextdoor. But you can reach out on our website and our email, contact@nextdoor.com. If you have a question, if you're afraid to say it on Facebook or social media, reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to talk about it, part of these live shows here on our Decision 2022. So I want to get back, since we are a little over 3 weeks into the elections, I want to get back into telling people why the experience does matter when it comes to the next sheriff.
I think the experience matters because day one, when you show up for work, you need to know what you're doing, and you've got to have some kind of history of that. You've got to have an experience of dealing with that. So I think it's important to look at each candidate and say, how does that candidate's experience fit? I think that it's that's something. And I said last time we talked that your experience must relate. It must be relative to the job you're getting ready to do. So I think you should evaluate that. And I think we've got 3 fairly good choices in candidates. I think you've got one probably that if you like things how they are, then that's probably a good choice. And if you think that inexperience in making a left turn is okay, you got that choice. And that's not. I'm not saying that's that he's a bad guy. That may be absolutely what you want in a sheriff, and you should support that person. But I think you've got you've got 3 choices here to make, and I think it's going to be historic. I think it's going to be fantastic for these Republicans to finally get to vote for a Republican sheriff, and the conservative Democrats that have been Democrats for years because they had to be Democrats to vote for the sheriff. Plenty of those folks out there. So I think it's going to be. It's going to be hard to predict what's going to happen. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to sit and watch it. It's exciting.
Again, this is our weekend discussion with Vance Johnson. He is candidate for Granville County Sheriff coming up. Again, we're only a couple weeks, we're 3.5 weeks away from the early vote. Make sure you go out and vote for your candidate that you want to be the next sheriff. Right now is the time to do it. So part of that, once you have the opportunity to become the next sheriff of Granville County. Talk a little bit more about the training and getting equipment and for these police cars and things like that. Talk a little bit more about that.
Well, I mean, I've mentioned once before, it bothers me that there are times when there's 2 deputies patrolling this county. And I think about that every single day. And I was talking, actually I was doing an interview just last night, and we were kind of discussing those kind of things. Something, and one of the questions was, well, what do they get from you? If the deputies ask, they want to know, well, what are they going to get from you? What they get from me is, you're not going to have 2 deputies patrolling. So go home and tell your family that that's over with. If I've got to come out and work at 2 o'clock in the morning, then I'm there. That ends. It's not safe. It's not good for the community. It doesn't provide what's needed in the community. There will be a minimum staffing level that will be maintained, regardless of who we got to staff it with. You will have proper training. There's no reason that a field training officer doesn't have field training officer school. There's no reason that a first-line supervisor hasn't been to first-line supervision training. All of my command staff should go to administrative officers management class at NC State. It makes them better. It makes me better, which makes us better for the citizens. The outdated equipment, we're going to work on that. We're going to fix those things. I know what's needed. I've been on patrol. I've been in investigations. I know what's needed there. And, there's no reason why investigators should not go to a homicide investigative class. We have got to increase that knowledge to be better for the citizens of Granville County.
Vance Johnson joins us here by way of in the studio here, 109 Hillsborough Street in Oxford, North Carolina, part of our Decision 2022 and our weekly discussion with candidate for Granville County Sheriff Vance Johnson. So we like to really finish up our conversation with open the floor with anything that's on your mind, anything that's been said to you in the last couple weeks or last month or so, but really open up the floor for anything that you have on your mind to kind of speak.
Yeah, the amount of people that we meet, almost daily, the amount of people that we talk to and meet, and it's exciting. It's overwhelming sometimes because it's a lot coming from different directions. But I'm really enjoying that part of it because I'm getting a lot of, you get information sometimes that maybe you didn't know, and they're asked questions that really make you think. And I think that's great. It's, it's nice to be challenged in a way that, that makes you think. And I do go back and think about, wow, okay, how do we make those things work out? And how do we, better serve the citizens if there's certainly their concern. So I think that's something that's certainly a good way to end this show. It's been fantastic meeting the people. It's the new people. My wife and I talk about it all the time. The new people that we've met along the way, it's just overwhelming. And so regardless the outcome of the election, it certainly makes us better people. And better connected to our community,
The community's awesome.
Yeah, it really is. Yes, it really truly is. And a lot of people, it's a lot of people will talk down about the town and the county, and wow, it's a fantastic place overall, and the variety that you have throughout the county is it's amazing.
Only 3.5 weeks away from early voting. Where can they find more information? Of course, at watching and listening to the audio and the video here on Next Door Radio. But how can they get a hold of you? How can they see what you're all about on paper and that kind of thing?
Of course, there's updated information on Facebook. You can see that's updated regularly, and a website, VanceJohnsonForSheriff.com. A lot of good information there, a lot of photos from different events and that type of thing. And I got a platform there that you can look at. That's certainly email address. You can send me an email. My phone number is out there. Call or text me. It's, if you want to go sit down and have a cup of coffee and have a conversation, one-on-one is perfectly fine with me because I think it's valuable. In fact, I've done that quite a bit. So yeah, it's plenty of information out there. Reach out, and if you can't find it, certainly call me or go to the website and reach out, because I get the messages, and I'll get in touch with you for sure.
Fantastic. Well, my friend, always a pleasure having you in the studio. God bless you. Thank you for what you do, what you stand for, and good luck the rest of the way, okay?
I appreciate it, Trey. Thank you.
Absolutely. Again, this is the weekly discussion with candidate for Granville County Sheriff, Vance Johnson. My name is Trey Stein. Until next time, God bless. We'll see you later.